Here on the Total Theater Dave's Gone by Broadway special. Very delighted to have a brand new person in the neighborhood, but couldn't think of a more appropriate personage to be interviewed on the program because the winner of the Regional Theater Tony this year, as recommended by the American Theater Critics Association, by the way. Got to slip that in there because I'm a member and I vote. So congratulations to the Muny, which is the St. Louis Municipal Opera Theater. No, that's the reason everybody calls it Muny. It's the only thing anybody can remember. But I know it's got the name opera in there, but really they do Broadway, they do musicals, and have been for over 100 years. This particular person, Mike Isaacson, has been artistic director for about nine and a half years. And we want to, I'm sorry?
This is my 14th season.
14th. Oh, I need to make some new notes. Okay, well, congratulations then.
Thank you.
So, first of all, Mike Isaacson, Mazel Tov.
Mazel tov. Thank you.
Now, how does it feel to be a Tony winner? Have you felt already good things, blowback, potential funding, stuff that comes from getting a Tony?
You know, much more the former. The really beautiful moment. Look, we have this incredible tradition. We have this incredible relationship with the Broadway community. So many artists begin here, have worked here, have developed here. So when this announcement hit, it was not only in St. Louis because it's their theater. Not only was there such local joy and excitement, but the Broadway community kind of went crazy. It was really beautiful. And the emails and the texts, and I mean, Tommy Tune choreographed his first show here. Tom Kitts I mean, you name them, they've worked here at some point, even to this day, albeit some of, because I also produce on Broadway, sort of at something, and someone go, "Oh yeah, I was at the Muny when I was an intern," and it just it has this beautiful, rich tradition. And so this moment of sort of these communities meeting at this, and it's also, everybody here, I will say for myself, my first season was 2012. We have worked really hard on this transformation of a theater. It is a very, very different place than the place I walked into and what we've all done together. So it meant so much to all my colleagues here to be seen in this way because it's been a lot of hard work. And so
Well,
we're really proud of
yeah,
it.
I do want to ask about that because you're both the artistic director and the executive producer. So, what does it mean when you literally, specifically say that you guys transformed the theater over the last decade and a half? What do you mean by that?
Um, it's sort of twofold. I will say from the stage back to sort of where my office from there, everything is completely different. The stage house, every process, how we create the work, how we format our rehearsals, how we cast, how we create, how we design. We have three, we were using video technology long before anybody else was, and now it's commonplace in almost all set design, as it should be. So these elements so we have created a unique way to tell our stories. And when you see a Muni production, it's singular. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but it's true. And we do that going forward from the audience forward. The Muni has that I gloriously inherited. This is the most democratic theater in the United States, unparalleled, hands down. There are 1,500 free seats a night. We have 200 to 300 seats a night that are given to specific communities in our area, underserved communities, people who come to the theater, they're given transportation to that. The majority of tickets in the theater are actually priced like whatever a movie is right now. So people can come in families of four. And then you have even our best seats, which are sort of passed down in families, generations to generations, are still like, I think like 100 or 105 or something. So access and participation is embedded. The inspiration for the place was a civic idea before it became this sort of artistic powerhouse. And it was a mayor who said, if we create this in the middle of their city, particularly the way St. Louis was then, Forest Park is in the middle, and it's sort of on this hill, and people would come on blankets and watch Shakespeare. And then it sort of moved into operetta, which is why it was always the municipal opera. If you look at the first 30 years, it's all operetta because you're talking 19, 20s, 30s, and people forget operetta was dominant well into the mid 40s, if not the early 50s, everywhere. Yeah, that was, if you take Oklahoma is at what,
40,
46?
something like, yeah, right around the
Right.
war, just the end of the war, yeah.
Right. That's really you've got Showboat in 29 sort of popping up in this here, but those were aberrations. The form was this other thing that was in terms of popular entertainment, what was played on the radio, and then musical theater as a whole. I mean, you sort of had musical comedy to a degree, but as that moved forward, then eventually got into the system. It wasn't really till the late 50s that the Muny was all musicals. You sort of had this period. So anyway, the point being, you have this other tradition that sort of morphed into that. But the audience when I came in the door, what I would say, here's what I said to the board. I said, here's the great news. Everybody loves the Muny. I'm in town. People are so excited. They go, oh, I love the Muny, I love me. And I look at them and I say, great, when's the last time you went? And the sort of the blood would draw from their face. And they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. And what I said to the board is, they love the place, but it's like a lovely aunt who lives next door. I love her, but don't make me have dinner with her. And we have to change that because in its heyday, it was a vital present tense form, a way of life in St. Louis. And we have together over the last 13 years returned it to that for the audience. And that choose, changing the repertory, changing the style of how we tell the stories, the casting, just everything so it feels theirs in present tense. And it
No,
is people who have seen it, it is a very clear difference.
now, it's not what you would call a touring house. It's not like you get the Broadway tours. You are doing in-house productions of some pretty well-known musicals. Are you generally the director, or are you bringing hired guns, or?
Each show has its own creative team. So you see this labyrinth behind me. So here, for example, there's Come From Away. So you see director, choreographer, music director, some each show has its own dedicated 13 to 15 member team. So my colleagues and I here, I mean, that's what we're spending, hiring, creating, talking, doing that. And my job is to, with all of them, we know the show, but talk about what is it? What is it now? What is it on our stage? What can we do? What are the elements we can bring to it? And with the directors and designers, hear that vision and say, great, we're going to give, and I work with everybody here, our stagehands, our incredible build crew, costumes, we're going to give you everything we've got to create that on our stage. So for the audience, what I inherited when you talk about the transformation, what I inherited was basically a factory model. People came here and what they were told is, this is how we do shows at the Muny, figure out how to do your show this way. And now it's a complete reversal. It's who are you? What do you want to do? What's the magic you want to create? Great, let's figure that out for you.
Well, is that particular? I do want to say, because you are currently on Broadway producing The Last 5 Years, which
Yeah,
is unless I'm mistaken, a two-person
yeah.
musical. Is there? You are also running this theater in St. Louis. A big Broadway theater is 1,500 seats. Your theater is 15,000. How do
10,000.
you? Huh?
10,000.
I'm sorry,
10,000.
10,000. Oh, I'm sorry, 10,000 seats. Again, my notes are wrong. But again, could you even bring a show like that in there and make it work, or do you have to have a certain sense of scale in order for it even to work at the Muny?
Here's what works. If the ideas and the writing are strong and rich, it can play at 10,000 seats. That is the reality because we now have the scenic tools, the lighting tools. I can create such incredible intimacy on the stage. It's astonishing to watch 10,000 people focused on one person or two people. Now, we also have the gift, like when we do Beauty and the Beast or we do Fiddler or something, like I can give you an Anatevka on that stage. We're doing Evan Hansen this season. Now, for example, if those original creatives could have afforded to put a high school on that stage, they would have done it. I
Hmm.
can do that. So it allows us with our creative teams to go into the show and go, what do we have? What can we do? And certainly the idea of excess, of extravagance, of uh, I'm going to say richness was a big part of the idea of the musical for decades and decades. And most theaters, in fact, almost all theaters can't do that anymore. So when I did Beauty and the Beast and we get to be our guest, I mean, we ended up with 80 people on stage. And sort of this sense of power. And when you're doing that for 10,000 people and everyone's going out of their minds, I mean, it's really special. At the same time, you know, we opened last season with Les Mis, and at the very end, on solo on a turntable, out comes John Valjean by himself with those two candlesticks, and for 8 minutes, it's just him and 10,000, and nobody's breathing. I get to play. It's sort of this musical theater playpen, but I can play all extremes now. I didn't have the intimacy until we did the big stage renovation in 2018. That was the game changer. That
Cool.
gave us everything we needed to then give both.
Now, now that you have the Tony, that can serve perhaps as some buffeting for you because one of the shows that you are going to be doing in your upcoming season is La Cage, which you would not figure is any kind of controversial thing like 40 years after it originally opened on Broadway. But now, I mean, as a city kind of a theater, considering the times that we're in, are you at all worried about doing a show about two gay men, one of whom is, cross-dressing in life and in art and stuff? Or, it's La Cage, it's a classic, nobody cares.
Without a doubt, the latter. Yeah, there's just, again, you get this audience in this community has been living decades and decades the life and scope and breadth of the American musical. Like, they give us the gift of their summers. So, they've seen it all.
Yeah, but you're
So,
not afraid of becoming the Kennedy Center of what's been going on there, or do you have an
no,
eye out? Yeah.
no, I'm not at all. Not at all. And let's be clear. What's happening in Kennedy Center has nothing to do with the audience.
No, no, I know that. No, but it's about funding. It's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the political. But are you free of that, or at least you hope so?
Yeah, we're free of that. I mean, yeah, no doubt.
Now, do you see other theater in St. Louis? Do you ever go to Repertory
Oh,
Theater
we're
or the Fox?
absolutely go to the Rep, go to the Fox, go to stages. I try to as much as possible see the small local stuff, but I'm working constantly. But yeah, we're all colleagues and friends and talk all the time and support. And Shakespeare opens tonight. Shakespeare Festivals opens their production of Hamlet tonight, so that's exciting.
So, how would you say that theater has recovered there since the pandemic? Like, is it what it was? Is it better? Where is it at?
I'm very, I would say I'm the Muny. We've been fortunate because we did some right things, and our audience is very loyal. So we've been fine. The rep has gone through some administrative changes and some artistic changes, so they're kind of refinding their footing. I mean, what also happened, and you know this obviously because you know your stuff, concurrent to the whole COVID and sort of the reckoning and sort of conversations. The other thing that happened was all of these theaters, the original founders retired or left. Like that, I mean, if you look what's going on in New York right now, those are all founders who are leaving, right? That's always a period of redefinition and arguably turmoil, no matter who you are. Because people, part of my responsibility at the Muni, for better or worse, people can't understand an institution, but they can understand it through a person. So your job is to serve as that door to them, to help them see the bigger thing. And certainly founders, because people get behind that initial energy, it's very exciting, very entrepreneurial. That's sort of there. Andre Bishop created Lincoln Center. He's now leaving. They have a wonderful replacement, but there's always change. And that happened a lot in that too. So the rep is still sort of finding that. Stages, the same thing. Jack Lane left and Michael Hamilton, bless his soul, passed away. So there's transition there, but they seem to be doing fine. And so, everyone's finding their footing.
So, if I guess you will get the chance on Tony Night to give a bit of a speech. It might not make CBS, but maybe a piece of it will. What are you hoping to convey to not just your St. Louis audience, but to theater audiences around America?
Well, that's the billion dollar questions, and I've written a whole bunch of notes, and I'm freaked out about it. And I'll be up there with, I'm the artistic director, executive producer, and sort of the way theater is the structure. The president and CEO is Kofi Coleman, and we'll be up there together, and we're sort of figuring out, I've given a Tony speech before. I was in shock the last one I gave because I was one of the lead producers of Fun Home and we didn't expect to win. It was an incredible night. And it's a challenging moment. And I just want to make sure whatever we say is honest and comes from the heart and is smart. And, so it's a little bit daunting, which is a long way of saying I don't have an answer to your question yet, but I got 2 weeks.
Just point everyone to your schedule over the past couple of years and to the shows you're doing, this coming season and the season after that. Just say, you want to know what we do? You want to know why we do it? Look at what we're doing. That's
But do you remember when like the Supreme Court made that ruling about baseball and they said there is a special relationship here that sort of gave them those things? There is a special relationship between the Muny and the Broadway community. Like there's just this history and these roots. I mean, right now, I actually right away had associated to a spreadsheet. There is not a nominated show on Broadway this season, and at any level that doesn't have somebody from the Muny either on stage or backstage or in the office.
wow.
That's how it all is.
Well,
So,
yeah.
and
I mean,
I'm very proud of that because there is a focus and discipline here that we try to give to young people. We do it with love and great deals of humor. Laughter is very important to me. But you know what? We got 12 days to put on an amazing show, and we're going to put on an amazing show. And that's what we're going to do. And people walk away like, I can't believe we did that. And it gives them this profound sense of possibility that's very important to me. Like we can actually, if we communicate and connect with each other in the right way, we can do great things. We can. It's entirely possible.
well, that is both magnificent and munificent. So much for humor there. Anyway, we've been talking with the delightful Mike Isaacson, artistic director and executive producer of the Muny in St. Louis. One more time, congratulations to you and St. Louis and to the Muny itself on the Tony Award, and best wishes for many, many years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a delight. It was great talking with you.
You too.